hello. Are we out there in the internet world working? All right. Hey, welcome to HoopSpeak Live. We've already broken down every single angle of the Dwight Howard Stan Van Gundy thing. So I think we can just move on. I'm just kidding. No, what we were talking about was whether Ethan was ranting about our love for drama and why we're all so fixated on this particular exchange. Would you like to continue, Ethan?
I think Vocal just didn't want to hear my drone about it, my pretentious drone about our love for drama. I guess the way I'd react to it is that it might have been a power play by Stan Van Gundy, because even though this makes it quite precarious for him, he might have thought, I'm probably going to get fired anyway. His best friend is the media. The media loves Stan Van Gundy. You know, he is schlubby. He's funny. He takes the time to talk to reporters, so people are naturally
He looks like every beat reporter.
Exactly. He looks like every beat reporter.
He does.
So when you think about the dynamics, Dwight wants to be loved. He got kind of backed into signing that extension. So perhaps if Stan takes the bull by the horns, or whatever trite, I don't know, term I would use for it, and says to the media, hey, this is the situation, he's asking to fire me, then the media could whip up a firestorm on Stan's behalf. So maybe this was a Machiavellian coup by Stan. I don't know. That's my conspiracy theory there.
In one of the realest things Ethan's ever said, he mentioned earlier on Twitter today that LeBron is really what we wanted LeBron to be is what Dwight has become. And it's amazing that LeBron did so many bad PR moves over the last 2 years. I mean, just whatever the textbook for having a good image in the public eye, he went against it, and somehow Dwight is worse off. Somehow Dwight has bested that entire thing, and you have to wonder at what point, the star always wins. Like, the star always beats the coach. He'll always outlast the coach because the star is what brings in money. Well, if you want to call it a star, sure.
Chris Webber, man.
But with the Magic, you have to wonder, will they stick with Stan and just say, we need to reset, Dwight isn't our guy? I mean, it sounds stupid to say, but at a certain point, there is going to be a team that makes a stand, and why wouldn't it be the Magic? I mean, there are obvious concerns about Dwight, even though he's a top 5, top 2 player in the league, whatever you want to call him. Stan is very good at his job, and people laugh at the idea that Stan made Dwight into what he was. I mean, it was more of a symbiotic relationship between the two, more of a 50-50 thing. But, Stan's system works even when Dwight's not on the court.
Well, I think we talk about somebody's got to take a stand. I think the time to take that stand was the CBA. An interesting subplot to me, and I'm about to write about it a little bit, is that we have a system that makes these stars absurdly valuable, and it creates a dynamic where, and I don't know if we have many sci-fi fans here, it's like Anthony in the Twilight Zone, the little boy who could throw everybody under the cornfield on a whim, so everybody had to tiptoe around him and do what he wanted. Since stars are artificially paid so little, it makes them immensely valuable with the max contract.
Isn't that Pekovic?
And you almost can't take... Possibly. So you almost can't take a stand against them because it's just franchise suicide. So I think if we didn't have a max contract, we'd have a situation where Orlando could just tell Stan to go away. I mean, not Stan, that was a Freudian slip. Tell Dwight to go away and not deal with this. So their hand is forced. It's an ugly situation.
Wait, why would they be able to tell him to go away? They would still be down in enormous talent. I mean, isn't the talent scarcity at Dwight's level still such an issue that you would basically, as you'd say, pay whatever you could to keep him?
It is, and it isn't. I think they would look at it as, well, if they were paying Dwight $40 million in a system with a salary cap, I think they would just look at it as, look, we don't know if we want to pay that amount of money anyway, and we might be better off rebuilding. Here, it's just an immensely valuable player, and it's exaggerated to such an extent that they can't make those decisions, and they can't say, look, you're kind of being a cancer right now. Sorry if that's offensive terminology, but I think it fits in this case. So
Charlie
I think
Villanueva
that
is very, very offended.
he's very mad at me. Very mad at me. KG applauds though. He's actually
KG loves it.
giving me the thumbs up.
Oh, he loves
Well,
it.
one thing I wanted
Punching
to bring
a child
up
is
is,
so happy.
speaking of franchise players, is Bynum is someone who I think everyone is now starting to acknowledge that if he can be healthy all season, year in, year out, is a big-time franchise player. And he's someone who spoke out about basically not wanting to do what his coach said, and everybody jumped all over him negatively. Everyone seems to be, I mean, not everyone, but the mainstream opinion seems to be like, hey, Stan, way to keep it real. Like, we're happy that you know, are blunt and honest with the media. But, like, isn't this also just something that should absolutely not be out in front for everyone to see and just makes things weird? Or are they, I mean, like, why do we evaluate them so differently?
I think because at a certain point, you know, with the Bynum Mike Brown situation, there's so much going on. There's so many expectations that it's almost like this awkward. Oh, don't mess up the chemistry. Don't mess up, you know, the synergy within the organization where you've got a championship to win. Where there's so much on the line with Orlando, no one expects them to even make the conference finals, let alone compete for a championship. So the fact that a coach is coming out and being, you know, just completely honest about a situation, and yeah, this guy tried to have me fired, like he would like me to be gone. Oh, by the way, Dwight, come over to the media and have him ask you about it. It's kind of refreshing to see a coach just be like, you know what, I'm going to go out with two middle fingers blazing as if they're going to send me out of here.
Well, it's quite apropos that right now I'm having difficulty listening to everything that you're saying, and I'm sure they're very good points, Zach, because Beckley is insulting me in our secret staff chat, and I'm just airing that out there. I'm just telling the world
you have a stupid voice.
About that.
He's right. You have a stupid voice.
I'm just putting that out there because, you know, I'm making it appeal to the
really
public much in the way
constructive hosting here.
I like what Stan did as long as he meant it genuinely, as long as it wasn't some sort of cynical ploy. If he just said, look, I want to cut the BS, I get that. I think it's really interesting to assess who is worse. Is Bynum worse for airing his discontent in public, or is Howard worse for being a bit of a weasel and going in secret with the dagger to the back of Van Gundy? Like, who's worse tactics-wise?
Well, I think I'm just gonna follow up with my own question that I want to talk about, which is I think kind of the same issue.
Hosting
No,
101.
I think it's related, so I'm just gonna you know, reject the premise of your question and build off of it. And
this is what happens when we start later in the day when Beckley's drinking.
I've had too many frosted flakes at this point.
On that sugar high.
But like, okay, let's say Howard or like a comparable, you know, player that we really like a coach. If Howard said, yeah, you know, I know my coach has asked me to get traded, would we say, hey, this is just Howard keeping it real? He's just, you know, laying it all out there for us to see. You know, he doesn't like the BS.
No.
So would we say, like, hey, he's got to, I mean, this is part of the business. He's got to know that, and, you know, he's got to just sort of play through it and keep his mouth shut. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like a race thing, but it's definitely an authority figure thing where Stan has the ability as coach to kind of lay down the law in a way that, you know, fellow human being and adult man, you know, teammate would not.
Yeah. And it's awkward because he is paid a lot more than the supposed authority figures, so it's completely inverted despite our expectations.
Hoop idea.
Right.
Pay coaches $20 million a year.
I think that's James Dolan's hoop idea.